Hey guys, I want to take some time and talk about what happened on Tuesday night and some of the reactions to that and some of what I've been seeing coming from Paige Shill Twitter, some of what I've been seeing coming from the MAGA faithful, and really just where all of this went while we were sitting here watching what should have been a civil debate and really honestly what should have been an iconic takedown of Kamala Harris. Now, I watched the same thing with you. I streamed it live, post contemporary, and I had my thoughts coming into a lot of this here. And really honestly, one of the things that I have been talking about since Kamala Harris started getting made fun of for her inflection, for the way that she gives speeches, and for the thing that she does where she talks about, well, I've got this problem, and there's a solution to this problem, and it's a great solution, and the solution is going to solve this problem, and giving speeches like that. I warned, because I don't think Kamala Harris is a bad speaker. I know that a lot of MAGA faithful are, and I mean, I just listened to two videos by Styx who were singing Trump's praises in a debate like that, saying he totally won. Styx at least didn't go as far as to say that he crushed it or anything else like that. He was somewhat tempered in that. But I do remember, and I've brought this up on Contemporary before, I know that there was a very, very long stretch where I didn't make any one-off videos like this. But I know I've talked about this on Contemporary, of the fact that the Kamala Harris that we are getting right now is not the same Kamala Harris who stood in front of Brett Kavanaugh with her cold and measured tone, asking a question that didn't actually have an answer, of course. She did the prosecutor thing. She tried to catch Kavanaugh into a perjury trap. He was under oath at the time, but she tried to catch him and tried to get him to say, you know, I know this person, or I don't know anybody here, when, you know, he might have had a passing acquaintance with somebody who was at this law firm, and, you know, the cold, icy. Now you know somebody at this law firm, and you have connections with this law firm that has this very pro-Trump bias, and who do you know in this law firm? I'm sorry, I don't know any. You talked to somebody 20 years ago in this law firm who now has a very big pro-Trump rise. I can't recall. I know a lot of people in a lot of law firms because I'm a federal. Who'd you talk to? That was the Kamala Harris that was on stage with the ABC moderators. Not what we saw every time we got a public speech where we get the giggling mess and repeating words over and over again, and what many people would call the impromptu mess. Now, I don't know if it was just because she prepped like hell coming up into this week. I really don't know what the story is with that, or if these last few years she's just been out playing Casey at the bat, knowing that Biden was going to step down somewhere towards the end of his first term, which is something I also predicted at the very beginning of the Biden term. And then knowing that she was going to get a chance at whoever the Republican nominee was. And then this giggling, cackling mess is all of a sudden going to be this stone cold prosecutor. Again. I don't know if that was it. That seems very, very conspiratorial. But I do know, again, we watched the Senate hearings. We know what she was capable of. Now, there is one thing that I do want to address about the debate in specific, and about the reaction to this. And the Trump faithful, the Charlie Kirks of the world, I mean, the Charlie Kirks of the world are screaming that ABC News should be shut down because, oh my God, it was 3 against 1, and it wasn't a fair debate, and they stacked this up against him, and this and that, the next thing. Whereas the other MAGA faithful are sitting out here, he totally won, he crushed it, it was all over, and he sunk her, and he brought her into a trap. I mean, if you believe that he lured her into a trap and crushed her and didn't get distracted and was complete campaign mode, you and I didn't watch the same debate. And I'm going to come back out and say this right now. And that's the part that I want to address first. And then there are a couple of other things that are coming down that I also want to take some time and address as well with this. Now, what I want to address is the people who are die-hard MAGA, who think that Trump walks on water and everything that he does is either fantastic and wonderful and the most perfect thing in the world, and that he can do no wrong, and think that just for the fact that he got up on that stage, he crushed her. You need to stop and take a really, really hard look at your philosophy. And I do understand. I put an X out about this, and I said, I understand how much you dislike Kamala Harris. I dislike Kamala Harris, and I appreciate the enthusiasm and the gusto with which you approach life. I do. The only person that I have as much faith as MAGA faithful have in Trump has been dead for 2,000 years. But you can't look back. Look at that and say that everything was perfect, he totally won, and there was nothing different that he could do. Because there's no chance for reflection off of that. Donald Trump got decimated in that debate. I am terrified of Kamala Harris, and I want Donald Trump to win. God help me for saying those words. Because I said before that I would never vote for him because of his spending policies. But the left did the one thing that could actually make me want to have a Trump victory for his second term, and that is they put a corrupted prosecutor up here who has no qualms about putting somebody in prison without evidence just because she doesn't like that particular person or that person's socioeconomic class. That terrifies me as the chief law enforcement officer, but I can still look at this and say, okay, we've got to sit down on a block of ice on Monday. I know that this all happened on Tuesday. I'm using football metaphors for this. But you got to sit down on that block of ice on Monday and do the Monday morning quarterback thing. Watch the game tapes, watch where you slipped up, watch where you lost control, and I can tell you exactly where that was, and get ready to improve. Now, that is my first bit of advice to the Trump campaign and the MAGA faithful, is that you do need to sit down and do self-reflection. You can't just say Trump is perfect and he won because you want him to win all the time and you want Democrats to lose all the time. If you can't self-reflect, you don't win. Now, when people scream about the fact that this wasn't fair, and I listened to Shapiro, I don't know, this whole debate made me completely act out of character this week, but I listened to Shapiro this morning for about maybe a half an hour of his broadcast, and I listened to him say, this was a travesty of the American people. This was the end of the world. This was, oh my God, ABC is not even a legitimate network anymore. This was completely unfair. And they did this 3 against 1. And dude, politics are not fair. Shapiro should know that because he's been analyzing politics for longer than I have. And the dude is the same age as I am. He should 100% know that politics aren't fair. And, I mean, I appreciate where the Donald went out and got into the lion's den knowing that this was going to be a 3 against 1 thing and everything else. He got out there, he did this, and got up there. I appreciate the idea of that. But you cannot expect to go into any sort of competition, especially in this world where everybody with billion-dollar interests has been programmed to hate you just simply for the fact that you're not of a certain political class, and expect life to be fair. A negotiation with Putin isn't going to be fair. Xi Jinping is working on a BRICS alliance, trying to get the rest of the world to dump the U.S. oil dollar. Do you think that's fair? I don't. They're having closed-door meetings, and they're trying to rally people behind your back, telling lies about you. Do you think that's fair? I don't. Does that change the fact that they're doing it? No, it fucking does not. So you got to get this mentality of, it's fair. We're not Democrats, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm not a Republican either, but we're not Democrats where we sit here and demand that everything has to be fair all the time. Yes, Democrats are going to cheat. Yes, other governments are going to cheat. Yes, business leaders who are trying to affect an outcome because they want a certain tax break or they want a tax to go into effect that crushes their competitors who are trying to start upstarts are going to cheat. These people are all going to cheat. They have been doing it for 60 years. So don't go in there and say, oh, well, this is just going to be fair. Now, there are a couple of other conspiracies that are going along with this, and I don't want to go down too deep into the rabbit hole because I don't know what is going to be against YouTube's terms of service once people actually start talking openly about this. And they change those on the fly and ban retroactively if you've given misinformation. So this is, for YouTube, don't ban me, bro, only to address the fact that this is out there and really nothing more at this point. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is, they talk about Harris got the questions in advance, and she had to have got the questions in advance, and there's no way that she couldn't have done that. That actually, can I say this? Am I going to get banned for saying this? That I actually somewhat believe. I mean, Hillary got the questions in advance. That's a well-known fact at this point. That's not even a conspiracy theory anymore. They bragged about the fact that they gave her the questions in advance at this point. And yes, I believe it's plausible. I don't want to go down into that until there's actual proof. And there are people out there that have a FOIA request, so my request for proof actually might be answered at some point here, depending on what it is that the networks actually give up, because they're not government agencies. They're not under the same regulations as FOIA, and I mean, I've seen government agencies just spit in the face of FOIA anyway. No, you're not getting this information. So whether or not we actually get the proof of this, if it is there at all, I mean, that's going to be up in the air. And the earpiece thing, too. That one I don't necessarily 100% believe. I know that people are putting out some very, very convincing photographs of that. And I did note as well that there was the one tuft of hair below Harris's right ear that never moved for the entire debate. That seems a little bit of a stretch for me. I mean, I don't put anything past anybody here. Like I said, people don't play fair in politics. They don't play fair in world governance, and they don't play fair in big business. So it's always 100%, I mean, it's not 100% possible, but it's always at least somewhat possible that they were able to do something like that. Again, and people are trying to talk about the earrings when there was that tuft of hair that didn't move. And if they were trying to hide an earpiece, they would just throw it under that tuft of hair that didn't move. They wouldn't have to go and put these expensive earrings out there that look like Tiffany earrings to try to get their message back across. But the bottom line of this is, and even now Trump is saying that he doesn't want to come back and do a second debate with Harris anymore, which I think is stupid, by the way. And I'll be right open, come right out and say that I think that is asinine and stupid. I think you should bring her out and debate. But you got to sit down, reflect on where it went wrong, and I'll tell you where it went wrong. But first, yeah, you've got to sit down and reflect on where it went wrong and figure out how to overcome these things. And where it went wrong was relatively easy. It's, again, something that I've been warning about for years on Contemporary. I actually did make a one-off video with this as one of the topics of it. It was a list of things that Trump would have to do in order to earn my vote before Democrats put literally one of the most evil human beings on the planet on the ticket. And one of the big talking points, one of the big points that I tried to drive home about this, is the fact that he needs to stop talking about 2020, the election, and January 6th. Because that's in the past. You're looking to the future. The fact that so much of the second half hour of that debate was focused on what's in the past is the biggest indicator to me that Harris has no plan. She's just trying to get in because they're supposed to have this 1,000-year Reich that was supposed to start with Barack Obama and never supposed to end because the American people were supposed to love them so much and support them so much. And there are other things that they do and talk about that terrify me even more than any of this. But if you want to win, number one, you got to debate, you got to get her drug out, and you've got to get her to own a policy, which she thus far has yet to do. A wish list of, I'm going to impose a tax on billionaires, and I'm going to lower your taxes, and I'm going to give you all this free money and everything else. There's no plan to do that. That was I think that was one of the first planks that I did in my "What do I need to vote for Trump" video, was the fact that it wasn't the spending. The first plank was the spending. I said, I need you to give me a plan on how you're going to cut spending and how you're going to overcome opposition in Congress to cut that spending. It's not enough to say, I just want to cut spending, any more than it's enough for Kamala to say, I just want to give you free money. I need to see a plan before I can make any of this believable. Especially when she says she wants to go back and lower taxes on the middle class. There's not enough billionaires with enough cash on hand in the world to make up for the deficit that you're going to get for giving away, what'd she say, $25,000 in housing? In down payment assistance to anybody who's a first-time home buyer. There are not enough billionaires in the world to make that one happen, nor is there enough supply of housing in the market right now. So anyway, I'm off in the weeds here. I just wanted to come in here, get this rant out, and talk about where people are going wrong with this. I could make an entire different video talking about where the page shills are going and what they're talking about with this. Because, of course, they think that Kamala walks on water and that she completely trounced Trump. I don't think she did that either. There were a lot of weaknesses in Kamala's campaign that were laid bare by the format of what happened here and by some of the traps that were set for her, but it wasn't enough, and she was able to go out and get Trump emotional about an election where he, for the first time, had to admit that not everybody likes me. I'm not a celebrity anymore. I'm the enemy of the high-end Hollywood people when they used to be my friends. She put him into that position. She put him on the defensive when she is the incumbent and she is the one that needs to be on the defensive. I think he's wrong. I think he needs to go half the debate. But thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next time, and take care.